Hi everybody, I am TheReadingTortie and welcome back to my channel. Today we will be doing the probably final Call Me By Your Name video for the foreseeable future. However, discussions will always be continuing, so please feel free to discuss. So this is going to be the Call Me By Your Name book versus movie. And in this video I'm going to focus on the differences that I noted that I found noteworthy enough to mention. So it will be spoilers for the movie, although if you already read the book, there really are no spoilers. But if you haven't watched the movie and you want to really get the full impact of the movie for the first time without knowing much of anything in advance, please click out of this video and go watch the movie and then come back and then we can talk about it. So, on to book versus movie. Also printed out notes because, I don't know, I want to be coherent just because I can ramble for hours and hours about this book, as you guys probably know. Before I get into that, though, something in the movie that took place that I was stunned by how much it affected me was the few and purposeful times that Oliver said Elio and how Elio said Oliver. It seems like both characters never really refer to each other by their name, and when they do, it is so loud. I feel like it's extra magical, and no matter how quietly Elio says Oliver or how loud it is, it echoes like it's the statement for the entire film in one single word, with the force of the love that Elio and Oliver feel for each other. It was louder than the waterfall, than the ringing of the bell, and it had the power behind it that, even in my opinion, the harrowing might of the end when Oliver tells Elio that he's getting married, I felt like the entire ocean hit me at that moment. But even then I could still hear Elio saying Oliver. And it was so sad. And as I was drowning under the weight, my body was being crushed, and I was wanting to breathe, but I couldn't. I could still hear Elio saying Oliver, even though he said it like 3 times in the entire movie, even though Oliver said Elio like 2 or 3 times. It was so absent, so that when it was present, it just had that power to it. And if you disagree, please let me know. But I love that, and that really, really, really stood out to me. So glad I went to watch the movie, guys. If you haven't watched the movie and you've been debating it, please do. It's great. So, first, let's start with the similarities between it. So, let's flip back here. So, one of the similarities is the piano scene. If you read the book, which I hope you guys did, the piano scene is where, that I call the piano scene, is where Oliver tells Elio to play a song by Bach, I believe, maybe, and Elio's trying to flirt with him, and so he plays it the way another musician would, and another musician would, and another musician would, and Oliver's just, why can't you play it the way the original composer played it? And it's just their way of like nerdily flirting. Yes, this is why I have to write these things down. It's their way of like flirting with each other, and it was so natural in the movie that I kind of was just giggling. Granted, I was giggling and whimpering through the entire thing, but extra. It was just so lovely and well done, and I felt the lightness that I read in the book in the movie. The volleyball massage scene was really well executed. I think that Timothy C. I'm sorry, sir. I keep mispronouncing your name. I feel like Timothy really became Elio, and he internalized everything that Elio possibly felt. I don't know if they read the book in advance, but it feels like they did, and I loved it. So the volleyball massage scene was really cool, nonchalant, an afterthought, like so many things in the book. And when these might not be in order, these are not in order. Another one that I listed, I come down here for hours. I come down here for hours. When Oliver tells Elio that, I remember just sitting and giggling in the book when I was reading the book in my chair. When I watched it in the film, I felt sad about the wasted time. So it had a different effect, even though it was the same scene. If that happened to you guys, like the same scene had different effects, let me know, because I can't be the only one, right? I might be. I don't know. The later that Elio so hates, the later learns to love, is also present, and the way that it's done for the first time, like when Oliver's like, yeah, later, and Elio's just like, what? It was just so just obviously disturbing to him. I imagine that's how Elio did it in the book, and I just like laughed because Oliver's just so nonchalantly like, yeah, bye, and Elio's just, you just say that to me? It's like, how rude of you. It was just so lovely, and I loved it. The swimsuits. I love that Oliver had different colored swimsuits like he did in the book. Such a small but important, so important detail. Every detail is important. It's awesome. The fall off the bike. That was a little more intense than I thought it would be, but I like the way Oliver in the movie did it, that he's like, oh yeah, and Keith's, I'm sorry, mispronunciation again, did some black magic and put some black magic on me. I'm like, oh, or like witchcraft or something. I'm like, oh, it's so funny, so clever, so authentic, and just genuine. So the fall off the bike scene I thought was really cool. The bike rides into town, they were very silent and magical. They had a different effect than they did in the book. In the book, like, I knew they were riding their bike in town, but it's completely different when I get to hear the creaking of the bike, see them riding it, see them kind of stumbling when they start, or see Oliver fall, or the awkward dynamic between them. Thought that was really cool. The talk between Elio and the professor, I thought was powerful. And although the dialogue might have been different, it did not take away from how important that part of the movie and the story was. To me, anyways. And Billowy, we all love Billowy. I totally love the depiction of Billowy because I saw the shirt and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm pretty sure that's Billowy. And for the first time in my life, I'm like, yeah, that's Billowy, the shirt. Do you not know? Of course it is. It's like the shirt that I'm totally wearing. It's like, my shirt doesn't have a name. My shirt's just a cute turtle on the black shirt, and it's awesome, and I love it. But it's like, you see that shirt, and all I thought was, Billy, duh. And I looked at my brother-in-law that I went to go watch the movie with. Poor guy, he actually went. Not poor guy. Good for him. He's enlightened now. So when we went, and I'm like, hey, by the way, that's Billy. He says, what? I'm like, you don't get it. And I'm just like giggling about this inside joke between me and the reading people that read the book. And I think another thing that totally stunned me about how beautiful it was when Elio asks Oliver, does this mean we're on speaking terms again, but not really? And when that happens, and when he said that, I just like looked around and I'm like, am I the only one that's totally like at the edge of my seat right now, even though I know what's coming? It was so genuine and beautiful and honest. And I'm pretty sure I was like falling off my seat or something. But when he said that, I appreciated the director, the actors, the movie, everything so much more, because that line was so important to me. I think I marked it in my book. So when that happened, I'm like, dang, that's powerful. Beautiful stuff. So, differences in the movie. There's not as much of a focus on poker, nor is there a reference to how poker incorporates with Oliver's life. These are also generated because my brother-in-law, who has not read the book, was asking me these questions like, oh, I didn't get this, or I missed this part. So these are also from the perspective of someone that has not read the book. The egg scene, you guys know the egg scene, when Elio reaches over and cracks his egg, and I'm like, why is that not there? But it's okay if it's not there. I would have liked to see it play out, but I could have seen where it would have maybe given the movie a bit of an awkward, clumsy feel if it wasn't done precisely. And honestly, I don't think the movie was lacking without it. So, the footsie scene was not in there, and I was kind of looking forward to that one. But again, unless they incorporated that with the egg scene, I feel like it would have been a little clumsy. However, I do like the whole nosebleed one. I think that might have replaced the footsie scene. I like that a lot when, Oliver's just like, oh, was it my fault? And if it didn't replace it and I'm totally wrong, please let me know. The layout of the rooms was different than in the book, but it really lends itself to the movie. I think in the book, they share a balcony. In the movie, they share a bathroom. Or maybe that also happens in the book and I just totally missed it, which is totally plausible. So let me know. But that's what I noticed. But I liked the layout of the house really well. The origin of the word scene. This is right when Oliver gets there and he's totally just throws down some knowledge that, the average individual wouldn't know. I certainly didn't know. But when he does that, and Professor Perlman is just like, okay. And Elio just laughs and giggles. And he says he does that every year, and he's the first one to pass. I feel like that's Elio's first step into, I really like this guy. And then Oliver totally goes and ruins it later, being like, later, and Elio's like, what? So I really like that part. It was really cool. It was magical. I use that word a lot in these videos. Guess what? It's all magical. It's all beautiful. So it's okay. The character that was missing is a little girl with cancer whose name I don't remember. I'm sorry, guys. If you guys know what it is, please let me know in the comment section below. But she was a completely absent character, and I can see why, simply because of the time constraints of a film. So it's okay. The film only has a certain amount of room to complete the story they need to, and I respect the thoughtful and special decision to omit that character that I don't think was done lightheartedly. I think that the changes and the differences that were made in this film were done with as much caution, preparation, and respect to the book that I don't think any of this was like, we don't need that, let's just throw it out. I think all of these people sat down and thought, is this okay? And I think that they also knew if they were changing things, cutting out things, I think they did it with the appropriate severity and knowledge of what that would do to people that read and fell in love with the book. So I think that's also why I'm so at peace with the differences, because I don't think that stuff was just cut from the script for the heck of it. I think that it was very thoughtfully done. So I respect that. I feel like my emotions as a reader of the book and lover of the book were respected. They were taken into consideration when the making of this movie. And as someone who always reads the book for the movie, I find that really special. So the cutting of this character, I don't think was done as an afterthought. And I could be totally wrong, and I could be romanticizing it, but to me, it was done very purposely and with great consideration. So, the extra scenes with the professor, they were beautiful. The quotes that the professor has. Professor Perlman is possibly one of the most wise characters I have read in a fiction book. Like, he's just so present and lovely and eloquent, so educated. And when he's talking to Oliver and Elio about the impossibly curved bodies and that they're daring you to desire them, and Oliver's just like, so about me and Elio. So the extra scenes with the professor, I think, were very well done, and I think they're good because they give extra character development that I think he might have been lacking in the book. He was present, but I feel like in the movie, his presence is less sporadic and more purposely designated and allocated just better. So, extras with the professor. Good stuff. When Oliver gives Elio his shirt, it was very different than in the book. However, I thought it was so well done. When that shirt comes back and it says to Oliver from Elio, I just like, yep. Elio hugs it, like, yep, I would do the same thing. And I'm just looking at the font and the print and the shirt, and it was a token of love that under normal circumstances might not have meant a lot, but the way it was done added a weight and a depth and a meaningfulness to it that I think was so perfectly executed. So loved it. Monet's berm. That was a little different. Yeah, they kiss at Monet's berm, but it was really passionate, and I'm all for it. I'm good. Like, please, let's go. You guys wasted like 3 weeks. So Monet's berm, the kiss was much more passionate, and I loved the dynamic between Oliver and Elio because it was very real to what I think Oliver was trying to convey throughout the book. Like, oh, let's just stay away. Let's have our boundaries. And then Elio was like, no, wreck your boundaries. And Oliver says, well, I give. So it was really nice. And also the post Nookie scene, their dynamic was also very real, authentic, and very lovely. And it really showed how much Oliver cared for Elio. And it shows how much Elio meant to him. And seeing him be insecure, seeing him be shy and afraid of rejection was so endearing and so tender that I couldn't really fathom it that way in the book. In the book, it was more nonchalant the way Oliver was before that. But in the movie, I saw the insecurity, the pain, the distress, the worry that Oliver was feeling, and I am so glad that I saw that in the film and I can now add it to my experience in the book. So it just adds a whole other level of, man, Oliver loves Elio. So that was really good. And it's also kind of funny. The quips that they make in the book are so timely, so perfect, so well executed. For example, at Monet's berm, if you've seen the movie, you know this. Am I offending you? Just if you've seen the movie, you know. And when Elio said that, I was just, man, I love these creative liberties. They are brilliant, hilarious, and absolutely wonderful. So, talk to me about that scene if you want. Amazing. I'm going to kind of get these out of order on purpose. So the visit to Rome, I was not surprised, but I was still missing the restroom scene at the hotel. And that is probably the most visceral scene of the entire book, simply because of what is taking place. If you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, I'm not going to talk about it, but please go read the book. Or you can discuss it in the comment section below. So the restroom scene is completely missing in Rome. And although I kind of wanted it there, I understand why it wasn't. I mean, I feel like the movie was already pushing the envelope with the peach scene and the vomit scene, which isn't as scary as I thought. I'm going to touch upon it in a minute. So, yeah, if anybody's expecting the restroom scene, it's not going to be there. But it's okay. It's still fine. And the scenes in Rome are very different and much more fast-paced than they are in the book. And Oliver is back to his nonchalance, and I kind of got offended on Elio's behalf because I'm like, this is our last night together, and you're not paying attention to me. And I was like being bratty because Elio wasn't being bratty enough. However, the vomit scene was different. When they're out drinking, they're both wasted. Elio vomits, and in the book, it's done differently than in the movie. And I was wanting that scene that they had in the book. It was just so special to me, and it was so raw and as visceral as the restroom scene. But I'm like, I get it why they couldn't put it in. I understand, like, it might be a little too much for people that don't have the reading background, that don't have the background that we do as readers because of the book. So I get it that it might have been too much, but I wanted that scene. And it was just a little different. They still kiss, you know, there's still that. But the book just, it does not hold back. This book is like, I'm going to be completely vulnerable, completely raw, unpolished, not beautiful. I'm going to be a human at my most basic, you know, functions, and they still love each other. And that's the beauty of the book. So the movie's kind of like a sneak peek into it. And the top two, the confession and the peach scene. So first I will talk about the confession. The confession was a little, sorry, Mike. The confession was a little more public than I had imagined it would be. So that was interesting. I didn't mind it. I actually liked the way it was very naturally embedded into the story. And it didn't, you know, stand out like, you know, a swell of the orchestra and, you know, lighting changes and the sky darkens and all of a sudden there's this like very dramatic scene. It was very nonchalant, just like they're both always trying to act around each other. And it was just a fact. And it developed very naturally. And the way they were doing it was like a dance, like a waltz that you're free to engage in, but you can't walk away from. So it was really lovely. And although different, I was not disappointed at all. If you were, I'm sorry, but I really liked it. And what I thought was different was the peach scene. Although the peach scene is not done exactly, okay, peach scene to begin with, it's an apricot, but technicality aside, the peach scene. While the peach scene was not done exactly the way it was in the book, I loved the delicacy with which it was depicted in the movie. It was beautiful how Oliver reacted and Elio spoke, and their dynamic was very real. For those of you that have seen the movie, you know what I mean when there's differences. There is a moment between Elio and Oliver, and where Elio just has a complete vulnerable, just disarmament. Elio has nothing to hold him back. Elio's just completely emotionally naked to Oliver at that moment, and we see it. And I appreciate that treasure that the movie gives us that the book doesn't. So that's a difference that I thought was really well done. And I like the delicacy with which the main point of the peach scene was handled. In the book, it was like Oliver just took it all. But in the movie, it was more delicate and fine. Like I said, the movie is less visceral than the book, but it's very well done. And it's funny, speaking of visceral, one of my friends says, "Hey, Tortie, did you watch it?" I'm like, yeah. And then I like thought about it 1,000 times afterwards. What'd you think? And she says, "There's not enough nookie." And it was really funny coming from her. And it's something that I think should be mentioned. The movie really does play down the fact that this book is pretty much Elio's first love and true sexual awakening, in my opinion. So she missed it, and I'm like, you know, I'm down for all of that for them, anyways. Any day, like, yeah, it's great, and I get it. So a lot of the stuff that has a lot of meaning to people that have read the book kind of just looks like Elio being a mischievous kid, versus people that have read the book understand that it's his sexual awakening and development. So there's less nookie in the movie. There's nothing very graphic, but there are still very poignant and moving parts in the film, even though it is different from the book. Yeah. Okay. So I think that is all I got. If I missed anything, I'll add it in the comments below. Start another Goodreads discussion. Let's continue a Goodreads discussion. I don't know, everybody. Whatever you guys want. Let me know what you guys thought of this video, about what you noticed in the book versus the movie, and the movie versus the book. I loved both exactly the same. I didn't like either one anymore because they both gave me stuff that the other didn't. And while the book has a little more depth to it, the movie has a very beautiful introduction to what the book is, and it does it great justice. So I loved them both equally. I revel about both equally. I stand them both, and I just love them both so much for very similar but also very different reasons. And yeah, totally recommend. Watch the movie, read the book, Call Me by Your Name all over this place. Seriously. Let me know what you guys thought, if you agree, if you disagree. If you're tired of Call Me by Your Name videos from me, I am so sorry, but this might be the last one. Simply because, there's just, it gets to a point where I'm like, okay, I guess I should stop talking about it. But let me know what you guys thought, and thank you guys for stopping by, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!